This week's Global Travel Update presented by Rosetta Stone, helping you speak freely worldwide.
Hi, everybody. Happy July 9th, 2024. Greetings from New York as we do another global travel update in 100-degree weather. I hope you are staying cool wherever you happen to be, but the heat wave continues, especially not just here in the east, but out there in the southwest with temperatures above 120 degrees in Arizona and Las Vegas. Not a pretty picture. I know they tell you it's a dry heat, you know, the old line, my oven's a dry heat, but I don't live there either. So let's hope for a drop in the temperature and some more rainfall where it's needed the most. Lots of things to update today, and what put me in a particularly bad mood, I'll start with it. No, it was not the July 4th weekend. No, it was not the TSA screening a record number of passengers through security checkpoints. In fact, just a little aside on that, 8 of the 10 largest number of days for screening passengers in the history of the TSA have been between May and last week, just this year. That'll give you an idea of how many people are traveling. It is wild. And will it continue? Will it be sustained? Not necessarily, and I'll tell you about that after I tell you what put me in a bad mood. And what put me in a bad mood was the announcement late last night, or late Sunday night, that Boeing was agreeing to a plea deal in their fraud case that the Department of Justice brought against them in the wake of the Boeing MAX disasters in 2018, 2019 that killed 346 people. And of course, the door panel blowing off this past January on a flight, on Alaskan Airlines flight in the Pacific Northwest. Why did that put me in a bad mood? Well, let's go back in history here. When Boeing was charged with in a criminal case after the 2 crashes of the Boeing 737 MAX in Ethiopia and Indonesia, in which there was overwhelming evidence of fraud and illegal behavior on the part of Boeing as it dealt with the supposed regulator, the FAA, Boeing was allowed to settle that case in paying essentially a fine of $2.5 billion and agreeing to never repeat that behavior again. It was a conditional settlement that allowed the Justice Department to prosecute them again if they repeated that bad behavior. Well, then here comes January, and the door panel blows off, and the DOJ had all the evidence it needed, plus all the whistleblowers who were coming forward. And what did they do? They announced that Boeing had violated that settlement agreement, and they were about to prosecute them again. This time, the evidence apparently was even more overwhelming, if that could be the case, because you had all these whistleblowers coming forth with verifiable stories of corporate cover-ups and retribution for people trying to report safety lapses, whether even in construction, design, or inspection. And the case was about to go to trial. And then out of nowhere, and this is the one that's puzzling to me, because the DOJ never had to offer a plea deal here. They had a pretty lock-solid case. They offered Boeing a plea deal. And Boeing wasted no time in taking it because the last thing Boeing wanted was an extended trial with more details of their bad behavior. So, what's the plea deal entail? This is what put me in a bad mood. All right, Boeing has to pay a fine. The largest fine they could do under law, that's about $450 million, I think, which, by the way, in retail sales equivalents, is about the cost of 3 of their planes, retail. The cost of doing business. Financial consequences here not exactly big. They have to put together another $450 million in a new compliance program for safety that will be overseen by an independent auditor. So basically, they've been put on probation again with a promise of not to do it again. What's going to repeat? What's going to cause the behavior to be not repeated again? Very little. When you have severe financial consequences, behavior can change. When the consequences financially are essentially the cost of doing business, the bad behavior continues. And of course, this did nothing to appease the victims' families, who still have a case against Boeing, who wanted a trial, who wanted criminal penalties, who wanted serious consequences. So what was also part of the plea deal? I mean, this is like a bad consolation prize at a worse quiz show. The board of directors of Boeing will be required to meet with the victims' families. What the hell's going to happen in that meeting? Oh, we're sorry? Really? I mean, now let's dig a little deeper. Why would the DOJ, given all the ammunition they had, given all the evidence they had, offer a plea deal to Boeing? Well, the answer, it seems, is the biggest conflict of interest in the world. Boeing is the largest export company in the United States, and it's not just about contracts they have with airlines or the private sector other than airlines. It's the contracts they have with every military branch of the U.S. government. I mean, the Army, the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy, not to mention the Coast Guard, and the space program. Basically, the backdoor arguments that Boeing was making, apparently, was that if you force us to go to trial, it's going to slow down our production line. We won't be able to deliver any of the promises that we made contractually with not only the airlines, but with the government, and you're hurting yourself. Sadly, Boeing had a point, right? They're the largest export company, and they're the only player in town when it comes to providing equipment like that to the United States government. I mean, there are other military contractors, but Boeing's the biggest. So given that choice, here comes the plea deal. Oh, it's not a pretty day for me to be able to report that, knowing the evidence that I know and the evidence that I've already reported to you. So I'm just saying, this is how we start July with a plea deal that never should have been offered, and you knew they'd accept it in a heartbeat. We will stay on top of this. And remember, we haven't even gotten started on the need for restructuring the FAA, which got us into this trouble in the first place because they looked the other way, knowing this bad behavior was going on. And they're the regulator. All right, let us move forward. I did mention to you about the number of people traveling and could it be sustained? And the answer is it can't. And I'll tell you why. The bills are coming due. Back in April, that's only 3 months ago, a survey by Bankrate said that 37% of Americans were willing to go into debt to pay for their vacation. Take that survey today. Won't even come close to that number. Why? The bills are coming due. Remember, only 51% of Americans pay their credit card bills in full every month. There's a reason why we have a $1.4 trillion unsecured consumer credit out there. That's staggering. And that means the bills are coming due. And we have an election year. And people are now starting to pull back, saying, you know what? Let's wait till next year. So starting next month, we're starting to see, it won't be dramatic at first, but it will be noticeable, a decrease in airfares, a decrease in hotel room rates. And we're going to see that through the end of the year, with the exception maybe of, Thanksgiving or Christmas, but more or less it's coming down because it can't be sustained. In fact, sad note, credit card delinquency rates are noticeably increasing. What a surprise when your credit cards are averaging 26% compounded interest, not even simple interest, compounded, a triple insult. So if you're watching me and you haven't paid your credit card bills in full, try to do that. Manage your money. And maybe you don't take a trip until next year until you do, because you'll never catch up. You'll never catch up. And the real abuse, and which we'll do as another entire show, is the frequent flyer program, because people will get these credit cards with all these mileage bonuses at 26, 27, 28, even 29% interest. And then they'll get the bonus miles, which they can hardly even redeem. And by the time they ever do, assuming they ever do, the cost to them to get that free ticket just on the interest they paid on their unpaid balances could have bought them 5 airline tickets. Let's do the math. All right. Now I've got a couple of fun things to share with you. Let's start with this sign about artificial intelligence. We saw that the other day. Couldn't agree more, especially when it comes to ridiculous rules when it comes to travel. The next video I'm going to show you illustrates this to no, you can't do a better illustration than this video. Let me set it up for you. We all know that airlines make a lot of money on forcing you to check bags and then charging you for it. They have those ridiculous bag sizers, those draconian bag sizers at the gates, with their automaton gate agents basically trying to generate revenue if you're 1 pound overweight or if you're 1 inch over that sizer. Look at this scene from the check-in at the gate on a recent Ryanair flight where they told the passenger that his roll-on bag wouldn't fit in the sizer because the wheels stuck out. Watch this.
Cuando Ryanair te dice que tienes que facturar, el malagueño automáticamente.
Ahora como no entra
Vamos ahí, Dani. Ahí.
la que la hago ya.
Al final lo conseguimos.
Ahora sí. Venga, sí, vamos, Málaga. Ha entrado. Después esto se pega,
You know, the best part of that video is after he ripped off all 4 wheels and it made it into the sizer, the gate agents were still not sure they were going to let him on. I mean, stupidity. Oh, and of course, his rollerboard is now a drag-aboard. But that'll give you an idea of where we are these days in the year 2024, where stupidity reigns. All right. Now, a little cautionary tale. We've reported on this over the last couple of weeks, some of those outrageous cases of what we call CAT, clear air turbulence at altitude. We've seen that the Singapore Airlines flight where so many people were injured. This is a passenger video of a recent incident of turbulence. Look what happened to one passenger whose seatbelt wasn't fastened. If you look there, that was his arm sticking out. That's where he ended up. You know, I've said this before. A lot of people don't like when I say this, but I don't wear my seatbelts when we do takeoffs and landings, and I can explain it. But I absolutely wear my seatbelt once we're in the air to avoid situations like that where you can break your collarbone, you can break your neck, or worse. The reason why I don't wear my seatbelt during takeoff and landing is because seatbelts were designed when planes took off at 80 miles or 90 miles an hour. That no longer is the case. They take off at about 160 or 170 miles an hour, land about 140 to 160 miles an hour. And if you're dealing with an aborted takeoff or a hard landing, the force on your waist from that seatbelt is enough to break your pelvis. And now you can't get off the plane because you can't move. How many people survive hard landings or aborted takeoffs and die in the smoke from the resulting fire because they literally physically can't move? So that's what I do. Obviously, if a flight attendant comes over and sees I'm not wearing my belt and says, please put it on, I sort of do, because I don't want to necessarily be in a situation where I'm not complying with an order of a flight crew member. But from a practical reality standpoint, the biggest danger for you on a plane is when you're in the air, when it comes to clear air turbulence. And we're seeing an increase in the frequency of that. You can blame global warming. So do what I do, at least at the very least. If you want to wear your seatbelt on takeoff or landing, I'm not going to get in the way of that. But at the very least, you have to wear your seatbelt during the flight for reasons that I just explained to you when you see the overhead rack. All right, a couple of anniversaries we are going to be commemorating this month, not celebrating. There was United Airlines Flight 232 on July 19th. Check it out. An amazing story of heroism when a United Airlines DC-10 lost most of its hydraulics and its engine on the tail. And thank God there were extra pilots that were deadheading that day in the cockpit. Without them, everybody would have died. Go back and look at that video. It's hard to believe that anybody even survived, but they did. That was United Airlines Flight 232. That was Sioux City, Iowa, by the way. Then July 25th, coming up. I covered that story. In fact, I did a 1-hour special for NBC on Dateline on it. In fact, we were the ones that overturned an original conviction against Continental Airlines in that case. What am I talking about? The crash of the Concorde, the Air France Concorde on July 25th, 2000 in Paris. Check out that story. You can still probably find it in the archives on Dateline. It's an amazing story of, again, an aircraft that where regulators looked the other way when there was a known problem with the tires and a known problem with tire disintegration from Michelin tires. And on that particular crash, the plane was overweight, it was overloaded, it was overfueled, and the pilot, in a display of arrogance, even when the tower told them the wind direction had changed, insisted on going down the runway in a tailwind. No pilot ever wants to do that, but he thought he had all the power in the world. Well, he didn't. Anyway, that was the story that we covered on NBC on Dateline, July 25th, 2000, the crash of the Concorde. And last but not least, an amazing transportation story, which we featured, by the way, in one of our Travel Detective episodes, which you can still see on Amazon or Apple TV+. This is the month of the notorious collision at sea in July of the Swedish ship, the Stockholm, and the pride of the Italian fleet, the Andrea Doria, back in 1956. The Andrea Doria sunk, and the Stockholm miraculously limped back into New York Harbor, was figured it was gone forever. It is now 2024, and that ship is still sailing. It's had 11 different owners and 9 different names. We did that story on the Travel Detective. I hope you'll get a chance to see it. The name of that ship, which I then went on, is the Astoria. So check that out. 3 very interesting, fascinating, and tragic dates in history, all happening in the month of July. All right, let's say hello to some folks today. Hello to Lorena from Lansing, Humid, Lansing, Michigan. Matthew's saying, will Maui be rebuilt and ready for tourists by 2026? Maui is ready for tourists now. Lahaina will not be ready. That city, that town has got a long way to go because it was literally wiped out. But everywhere else in Maui is available, and you should go there. They need you. Remember, they depend so much on travel and tourism for their entire economy. And without you, they don't have jobs. They don't have livelihoods. They can't put food on the table. And the rest of Maui is open for business. It's as beautiful as ever. I encourage you to go and visit the other parts of the island. Lahaina is still off limits and shall be for at least the next 2 years. Okay, let's keep going here. Greetings from Ashland, Virginia, says Paul. Just returned from 3 weeks in Alsace, Switzerland. Nicely done. Nicely done. And Camilla's down from Camilla's saying hi from the Oceanside Pier. We just did a piece on Oceanside on the Travel Detective. And my old pal Marvin Cumper from my Newsweek days. How are you, Marvin? We have to get together. Lovely to hear from you. Sue Hennepin is saying hi from hot Bellingham, Washington. It's hot everywhere. Adrian's saying hello from Surf City, Huntington Beach. Scott's saying hello from Chicago. Only 78 degrees. You're lucky today, Scott. Debbie's saying hi from Buffalo, New York. Okay, Lorena's saying, when I mentioned traveling through Milwaukee and having TSA pre-check on my boarding pass, they still made me remove my shoes. Okay, I checked with TSA at my local airport where I volunteer. They asked if I used my passport as my ID going through the TSA point. Yes, I did. Typically, I don't carry my driver's license when I have my passport. They say that sometimes the TSA system, even though I had pre-check, doesn't connect to a passport ID. Okay, this is nuts. Listen to me. It has nothing to do with your passport. It has nothing to do with your driver's license. It has to do with, does it say TSA pre-check on your boarding pass? You have your known ID number, right? Your trusted traveler number. You should always give that at the counter when you check in so they can enter into the system. So it does say TSA pre-check on your boarding pass. That's the difference. Now, at some TSA checkpoints, it's a little stupid, right? They don't really have real pre-check. They have baby pre-check, which is you can leave your shoes on, but you got to take your laptops out. It's stupid. You either have it or you don't. You paid for it. Where is it? Okay. All right. Raymond and Birgit, my pals, my all-time pals from the Jersey Shore, where they're also feeling hot today. Mary Jo Smith, hello from Pennsylvania. Thanks for the tip from Hidden Ireland about seeing the cliffs of Moher by boat. Yep, that's the way to do it. Okay, Gerald saying, hello, Gerald. Aaron saying, Aaron from Spokane, I'm traveling to Egypt this October. Do you recommend obtaining a visa on arrival at the Cairo airport or before I depart? Also, should I come equipped with foreign currency or use a credit card without foreign transaction fees? Very easy answer on this. We just came back from filming our next 1 hour special called Hidden Egypt. It'll be on the air later this year or probably early next because we're still working on it. Visa on arrival is the way to go. Piece of cake, and just bring cash or a credit card so you pay for that there. And no need to exchange currency before you leave. US dollars will be fine when you want to exchange them there. Or again, credit cards without a foreign transaction fee. All right. Adrian's saying, perhaps we should think of the consequences for bad Boeing behavior and suggest them to the FAA. Well, Adrian, by the way, we have suggested them to the FAA, and the FAA looked the other way. Why? Because for decades, the FAA treated airlines and manufacturers more like their clients than the people they were supposed to regulate. You know who their clients are? You and me and everybody else watching today. United States citizens are the clients of the FAA. They should never forget that. All right. Joy says she's going to Dubai in February, leaving from JFK. Need to know what's the best seating and economy status flying on the A380 Airbus. I see prices are about $1,000 now. Should I get tickets now or too early? Way too early. Prices will come down. And if you're going to Dubai from JFK and you're going nonstop, that means you're only going on one airline. That's Emirates. Sometimes they'll fly the 777. Sometimes they'll fly the A380. You said you're going to go on the A380. Depending on when you're going, and you're saying February, there are seating charts you can check on from seatguru.com, and that'll give you an idea of the seats by the exit doors. That'll give you the most amount of legroom. Okay? So check those out. It's the seats by the exit door, not necessarily the exit row seats over the wings. I'm talking about the seats by the exit doors. Okay? All right. Paul's saying the high cost of car rental in Europe, rented from Avis twice, high rates and hidden fees. Other than public transport, your suggestions? Yes. Check out local rent-a-cars in those destinations. Big companies like Sixt, S-I-X-T. I had a very good experience with them in Liechtenstein with crazy drop-off fees that we could negotiate in advance, because if you're in Liechtenstein, no matter where you're going to go, you're going to drop it off in another country because it's 5 feet away. But in any case, check out Sixt. They're on a web right now. You can do it. Europa Car. Check them out for comparison shopping, not just the U.S. companies. Okay. Yes, I saw that from Debit from New Jersey. Yes, a wheel just fell off a United Airlines plane. That's the second or third video we've seen. The one of the 777 about 3 months ago. But that's not a Boeing issue. That's a airline maintenance issue. And the good thing to know is that airlines are not built to fly only on one wheel. This does happen from time to time, and everybody got lucky. But it doesn't strike me as a huge issue, honestly. If all the wheels fell off, well, then we got something to talk about. Okay. Tyler says, in my opinion, do I think pilots and air traffic controllers make a decent salary? Maybe increasing it could encourage more inflow into the industry. I think that air traffic controllers need a huge increase in salary. Pilots and their unions, don't get mad at me, pilots, but you just negotiated the biggest raises in your history at Delta Airlines and coming to other airlines soon. So they're doing great. I mean, especially the veteran pilots. Entrance level pilots for the commuter airlines, that's a little scary. They're paid way too low. But for the mainline pilots, They're doing quite well. They really are. And the flight attendants are about to get a better deal too, starting with American Airlines, coming up any minute now, I think, if they can just get to a final deal. All right. Wendy's saying hello from New Jersey. Randy says, yes, it had TSA printed on my boarding pass. Okay, then there's something strange there. I will check with the TSA. I don't know of a situation where they would not, recognize what it said on your boarding pass and give you the full pre-check clearance. That's why you paid for it. Okay, how far ahead can and should a person book their arrangements for foreign travel? Way too general a question, David. I need first to know where you're going and what month you're thinking of going. Then I can help you out. All right. Now, as you may know, we have a series on television called Hidden. We've been doing it for about 10 years. And our next Hidden show is on Belize. Coming soon. Check it out.
Most people think they know it for its gorgeous beaches, great diving, and a vast seacoast. But most people don't know it. So get ready.
Are you scared?
To feel the rhythm, then get up close and personal in the jungle. And then a deep dive into a history of mythical proportions. And yeah, you're gonna get wet too. I'm Peter Greenberg, and welcome to Hidden Belize.
Coming next month, check it out. Of course, what's on the air right now is our latest season of The Travel Detective, and we've gotten a lot of requests on this, so I'm going to run this for you just to give you a tease of the show that we're doing, where we're taking you to the one museum in America that no one's allowed to go to, but we got in.
This week on The Travel Detective, Declassified, we uncover some of the most fascinating artifacts inside America's only top secret museum. That's our cover story. Plus, the cost of parking your car at the airport is really taking off. We'll tell you which parking lots at which airports you need to avoid. And then, it's all about time. We travel the world in search of the best and most unique clocks. I'm Peter Greenberg. All this and more on the next edition of The Travel Detective on PBS. Check your local listings.
All right, now time for some of the questions you sent in earlier this week. Here's one from Gary. Any information about the Aer Lingus pilot strike? We are booked for August 3rd. What are the chances that this flight may not happen? Should we book it with another airline for O'Hare to Dublin? Right now, I think they're going to settle it. Strikes in Europe are not strikes that go on for weeks and weeks and weeks. They're targeted for specific days or specific weeks. Right now, it's going to be taken care of. My guess is, and from my information from my sources, it'll be solved, and the pilots will all be back to work, and because they have to cycle into this thing probably by the 17th or 18th of July. So we'll stay on top of that for you and let you know. Here's one from Linda. When should I book an awards flight from Miami to Charles de Gaulle using Virgin Atlantic miles, flying Air France for early November? Answer, 5 years ago. No, I'm only kidding a little bit. Book it as fast as you can. Virgin lately, like a lot of other airlines, they're devaluing their mileage programs almost every week. It's terrible. What you thought was a 70,000-mile flight now becomes a 90,000-mile flight. Do not wait. Do not pass go. Do not stop. Do not collect $200. Redeem it now. Veronica, I have airline tickets used before November 2025 in the USA and Canada. Do you have a suggestion? We like to sightsee rather than sit on a beach. We like cooler weather also. Okay. Could we be any more general? I need more help, Veronica. Give me some specific destinations you're interested in. Give me a budget, and then I'll let you know where you can use those tickets, all right? Gerard is asking, which is better, Qatar Airlines or Emirates Airlines? You pick two airlines that exceed and excel. I love them both, actually. Although lately I'm a little bit more particular about Qatar because of the Q suite. If you're flying in business class, then you know exactly what I mean. The Q suite makes a huge difference, especially if you're traveling with somebody else who's significant to you, as in husband or wife or partner. Check out the seating diagrams. You'll see what I mean. The Q suite, not every Qatar plane has it, but their A350s have them. Many of their 777s have them. Check it out. I happen to like it a lot. Erica says, I'm visiting Finland this year from December 10th to the 16th and was wondering if I'd actually get to see the Northern Lights at least once in the span of these 6 days. Okay, I'm going to give you a qualified yes. Will they be visible during that time? Yes. Is it the best time to see them? No. The best time to see the Northern Lights in Finland is between September and October, and then again February and March. You're going in December. Will they still be visible? Yes. Between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Yes. But remember, I warned you, it won't be the most spectacular viewing. The months I just gave you are the ideal months to do it in Finland. Lee says, when we were in Italy, often the house wine was wonderful. I'm wondering if the same is true in Spain. We're from California and are used to great Napa wines. Well, I'm going to tell you a funny story. We were just in Napa. We love Napa. But I have to tell you, the wines in Spain are amazing. They really are. And what they look at as house wine in Spain is a premium wine in most restaurants. You're going to be just fine. Okay. Alicia says, my family is traveling to Santorini this summer, and we're celebrating my parents' 50th anniversary as part of the trip. Congratulations. My sister and I are looking for unique dining experiences we could book to celebrate a great restaurant, beautiful location, eat from, blah, blah, blah. We'd like to find something private or semi-private. Okay, there are 5 of us. Here's your problem. Santorini in the summer is nothing private. You couldn't pay me to go to Santorini in the summer. And I happen to like Santorini, but it's elbow to elbow. It's over-tourism supreme. Even the Greek prime minister is considering limiting all cruise ship arrivals in the months of summer in Santorini and the other offending island, Mykonos. So what I will do, email me to peter@petergreenberg.com. I'll turn you on to 1 or 2 of my contacts in Italy who specialize in Santorini and can maybe get you something on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but not on the weekend. Okay? I'll try to help you out. Okay. Kathy says, my partner and I are wanting to travel to the Lake Geneva area in August, about the 26th of August, she says, for around 4 nights, preferably the French side, but not a requirement. I'm trying to book for some less touristy places to stay. Where do you suggest? Well, here's the thing. If you fly to Geneva, what I love to do is I rent a car and I drive about an hour and 45 minutes, or maybe 2 hours east to where? To Lake Annecy, Talloires. How beautiful is that? It's seductive. Now, again, it's summer, but you know what? You can't miss it. And there's a restaurant there I recommend. You have to call way in advance for reservation, but it's great. And if you get the reservation, whatever you do that day, don't eat breakfast, don't eat lunch, just a little bit of water because you're preparing for the dinner. And the dinner is at Auberge du Perbiz. That's the name of the restaurant. And it's right on Lake Talloires. It's right on Lake Annecy in Talloires. And it's amazing if you can get in. Okay. Steven says, I've seen lots of discussions about long wait times getting out of Lisbon Airport. I'm wondering if there are fast lanes or dedicated lanes for business class passengers. The answer is no, but I have some good news. Up until about a year ago, people would take a 7-hour flight to Lisbon and wait up to 4 hours to get through passport control because you had between 26 and 32 inspection stations, of which only 3 were manned. And I talked to the Minister of Tourism in Portugal. I said, what's wrong with you guys? She said, well, that's not me. That's the Minister of Transport. I said, have you talked to the Minister of Transport? They weren't even talking to each other. I said, first impressions are everything. Nobody wants to come back to Portugal if they can't get in. Well, they finally came to their senses. And guess what they have at the Lisbon airport now? They've got e-gates. It's a piece of cake. Relatively speaking, you're not going to be in a long line. So that's all good news. Thank you to the Portuguese for finally coming to their senses. All right. One more thing before we get to the photo of the week. I was off last week. I hope you had a great holiday as well, but still getting ready for our special trip this November with the University of Wisconsin Alumni Association, an amazing cruise on a Ponant ship from where? Oman through the Straits, the Straits of Oman and into the United Arab Emirates, a magical trip. If you've never done it, I have. It's true. It's the Arabian Gulf, folks, and nowhere near Gaza, I might add. And it benefits a great organization, the Alumni Association of the University of Wisconsin. I'll be on the ship. I'll be speaking a number of times and also serving as a guide to the region. So I hope you'll get a chance to join me. And the money goes to a great organization. After all, I went to Wisconsin. I'm a Badger. I got to help them out. So the information that you want is on the screen below me on how to get more information on this trip or others. But it's the weather during that time is perfect. It's November in the Gulf. So check it out. And I think you will not be disappointed. I hope to see you there. And last but not least, let's go to the photo of the week. I love this photo. Here it comes. There it is. Chrissy Westra. Where was this? She was driving from Boulder to Moab. Here's a piece of trivia. How do I know Moab? I go back 40 years ago when I was running dramatic television at Paramount Studios, and we did a special pilot. We shot our pilot episode of a show you will all remember, and we shot it in Moab, right where you're looking now. And the name of that show was MacGyver. How about that for trivia? But she had a spectacular experience recently. She says, first, you got to drive through the mountain passes at elevations of 11,000 feet or more. We experienced snow, sleet, hail, and wind all in the matter of 15 minutes. Love this. Then you're rewarded with a stunning drive along a scenic highway that follows along the banks of the Colorado River. Finally, after about 6 hours, you arrive at your desert destination. Both arches and canyonlands were positively lovely this time of year. This picture was a favorite because it lets the viewer peer through the arch and see both the snow-capped mountains in the background, yes, you can, as well as the canyon floor. Okay, you like this picture? I like it. Congratulations to Chrissy. And if you think you've got a picture that qualifies as the photo of the week, then you know exactly what to do. You email me at photocontest@petergreenberg.com. And if we agree with you, it goes right up there with Chrissy's photograph. So thank you for that. Let's scroll down here and see about any more people checking in with me here. I'm still going here. Okay. Very interesting story here that Wendy asked about. She says, any thoughts on the protesters throwing objects at tourists in Barcelona that was reported recently? Yeah, it was reported this week. You're seeing locals in Barcelona getting angry at over-tourism. They're so angry at over-tourism, they went into Google Maps and took out any bus routes that tourists might want to take to favorite destinations because they were squeezing the locals out of seats on buses. This is just on their municipal transportation system. It's getting crazy. Athens, Barcelona, Amsterdam, Venice, and we got many more. We have spots in Italy now where it's illegal for you if you're crossing a bridge to stop. I'm talking about the people who are walking. Why? Because they want to take a selfie and they block it for everybody else. Now, that's just in Europe. We're talking Japan has got problems with over-tourism this year. And we're talking about many other destinations as well. Not surprising that this is happening in Barcelona, but I will tell you this. It is a double-edged sword because if you take a look at the economics here, that's a huge part of the economic base of that city, travel and tourism. So where is the middle ground? Right now, we haven't reached it, and we're seeing stuff being acted out. Scott says, the segment on the clocks was truly fascinating. Thank you, man. We appreciate that. That's on Travel Detective. Okay. Jim and Harriet said, sorry, we're late. They're always first. They're on now from Richmond, Virginia. Nice to see you. The show wouldn't be the same without you guys. Okay. Adrian says, if I want to spend a few extra days in Cairns, in Sydney and Melbourne, but most of my time in Brisbane, is it better to fly local Australian Airlines once I'm there? Yes, absolutely. Easy. Okay. Also, believe it or not, there's a train you can take, right? There's a north-south train, legendary in Australia. There's also the east-west. That's the Indian Pacific, which I've taken many times. It goes from Sydney all the way to Perth. It's the longest piece of straight railroad track in the world. It goes all the way out through the outback, and you can get on and off, which is very cool. So check that out. Raymond Dixon says, Auberge de Peribes. He knows the restaurant well. Also has gorgeous rooms to stay in and relax after eating lunch or dinner. The blue waters of Lake Annecy are mesmerizing. Raymond agrees with me. Okay. Thank you, Raymond. All right. Hello from Illinois, says Vanessa. Samanok is the name of the city. My husband and I are traveling from Chicago to Key West in December. Oh, boy. December 26th, returning January 4th. When should I book my flights? Now. Tell you why. Anything between December 14th and January 6th, you're in the bad window. All the prices go up, and they will not be coming down. They will go up around 4% a week between now and December, so don't wait. Book that now. Jeff says, recently obtained a visa for September Viking China cruise on Yidun. Huge cost difference obtained from a local consulate, $140 plus $3 or 3 days processing time, versus using Viking's suggestion of Gen Visa with a $500 fee. This appears to be highly unfavorable for many people. Thank you. By the way, there's a good chance I will be in a Viking ship in China in September, starting out in Shanghai and ending up in Shenzhen, going down coastal China. So if we're on the same ship, be sure to wave and say hi. Okay. Patty says, snakes in the Arabian Gulf. Oh, stop it, Patty. There are snakes in Manhattan toilets. It doesn't stop me from going to the bathroom. So bad analogy, I know, but I said it anyway. Bottom line is, the swimming with the dolphins in the Arabian Gulf is worth it all. Seriously. All right, just so you know. Okay. Tayo says, I'm sensing climate change, global warming having a huge impact on travel in the future. Thoughts? I hate to tell you, it's having a huge impact on travel now. Rising water levels, wild temperature changes, seasonality being put on its head, right? Not to mention clear air turbulence because of temperature changes. All right. Michael's saying he's headed to Bastille Day in Paris this weekend. You'll be there just in time for Olympic madness. Good luck and travel safely. Debbie says, do I recommend using the cruise company for airfare to and from the cruise? I can only give you an either or here. If you book your airfare with the cruise line as part of a package, and then your airline is delayed or canceled and you miss the cruise will then take responsibility here, since you booked everything through them, and either get you to catch up with the cruise or basically put you on another cruise at another time and not cost you any money. But if you book your travel to the cruise ship independently, you're on your own. Now, the smart thing that I do is I like to have options. So I'll take my own travel independently, I'm talking about air travel, to the cruise, but do it in a way that I'm not arriving or scheduled to arrive on the same day the ship's leaving. That's cutting it way too close. I go a day and a half to 2 days ahead, overnight, relax, and then get to the ship. That way, if the airline happens to lose my bags, gee, shocking, they'll catch up with me in time, hopefully. All right? So that's the answer right there. It all gets down to liability. All right? Now, welcome back to me in New York, having traveled from Cairo to Namibia and to other points in the U.S. I just was up in Toronto yesterday. I will be going to work as of tomorrow as a volunteer fireman, as many of you know. But then again, I'm traveling again starting on Sunday. So next week, our global travel update will be coming from a very interesting location, of course, which I'm not going to tell you about. But I can tell you this, it will be hot. I want to thank Anthony Protas for doing all the work on engineering our show today out in he's not even in California. He's in Long Island too. I'll see him tomorrow. He's traveling just like I am. I hope you guys survive the July 4th weekend. I hope you survive the rest of this week. And I will see you next week from a different location somewhere around the world that is actually hotter than where I am right now in New York. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you soon.